Okay, so before that party and before you got put on, I'm curious to know, you went to John Muir and you lived in the 50s. How come 5 Deuce Hoover, you didn't gravitate to 5 Deuce Hoover? Because I'm assuming at John Muir, a bunch of Hoovers were there. You live in the, basically kind of live in the Hoovers. What happened there?
Well, see, it wasn't even about that. It was about, so yeah, I used to sit at the Crip table, right, with the Crips. And initially, it was just something about one of my homies that was from Eight Tray. It was just something about his style that I liked. You understand? So I'm influenced by my environment. So the people who influenced me, those are the people that I gravitated towards, and those are the people that I emulated, and those are the people that I strive to be like, or either, be better than, so to speak.
Okay. So, was the Northside already a thing at the time? When did the sides come out? I'm assuming at some point you ended up representing the Northside since you lived over there, and Cody was from the North as well. Talk about how did that all get established?
So, the Northside wasn't established, of course, in 1979. I can tell you, when that came in, it wasn't even really about any other gangs in terms of North Side, South Side, and West Side. This was just something that we were doing internally. So we can like this is what this is something that it was like, it was love and it was playfulness. Homie from the South Side or homie from the West Side. You know what I mean? Because when you get right down to it, we all from the West, right? And so it wasn't even about like banging Northside Eight Tray Gangster. That just was something that we did internally. And then it became like, okay, this is this section of the hood, this is this section of the hood in terms of that.
Do you recall when that kind of got started? And
I want to say about either 80 or 81. 80 or 81. As a matter of fact, Pepperdine dugouts. I remember being down in the Pepperdine dugouts. So I don't know if they still have them dugouts over there, but there was some dugouts that we used to hang out in, and we had like a meeting there, and I can recall when the homie Lil Crazy D, like how he wrote down North Side, right, ETG, and so that was really interesting. And then we also developed how we threw it up back then. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Now you got put on in '79. Do you recall if it was before March when y'all was still cool with the '60s, or did you get put on after March of '79 when sort of the conflict and the war was in motion?
So let me say, before I got put on, right, I used to claim Eight Tray. Right, and at that time, it was around March, because that was around my birthday when I turned 13, and so, but I didn't get put on until later on that year, and that was actually, I think it was around October of '79.
Okay, so the war with the '60s was in full effect by that time.
Well, not necessarily. I want to say that there was the beefing between the Eight Trays and the '60s didn't start initially when the first shooting took place, because at first we were trying to work it out. I'm gonna say they were trying to work it out because I was a newborn at that point in time, and so I was just following, right? I'm gonna say the homies were trying to work it out, but unfortunately, it wasn't resolved. And so it's my understanding that the first shooting didn't take place until September of that year. And so after that took place, the first time, when I'm gonna say when Tyrone was killed, was in September of that year. And so, and then immediately after that, like soon as I got put on, it was almost like we was, going to war with them. But it wasn't as intense until like, I'm gonna say, yeah, about 80, 81, 82, yeah.
You remember who were some of the first homies from over here that were casualties of that?
Let me see. Well, I'm gonna say Lucky. That was Cute's brother who stayed right over here around the corner. Bam. The homie Roach. The homie Tit. Yes. And I say, I was also like in and out of juvenile hall, in and out of camp, like nobody's business, right? So I got kicked out of 7 different junior high schools, right? So I started banging when I went to John Muir, and I got kicked out of John Muir for gang activity. My counselor saw me and some of the homies chasing rival gang members down the street of the school, so I immediately was kicked out. And so once I had that jacket on me as a gang member, it's like the schools no longer tolerated anything I done. So I went to what? I went to Carver, I went to Bethune, Audubon, Gompers, where else? Henry Clay, Bret Hart. Yeah, so it's interesting because all during that time, I was representing the set, right? And so I'm meeting different people, whether they're allies from Eight Tray or they're rivals. And so I met a lot of people during the time, like I was going to the different junior high schools. So by the time I went to juvenile hall, all the fuck-ups who were fucking up in school were basically in juvenile hall, right? So when I was in juvenile hall, I was representing, at that point in time, it was on site, right? And what's interesting is how at first it was how the beef just intensified between the Eight Trays in the 60s. And how, like, it was on site. Like I was a full representative. Anybody during any one of those phases, they can tell you how I represented in terms of me being involved in the gang culture. Like, but I think it's important for me to say, like, that's who I was then, and I'm no longer involved in gang activity in any shape, form, and fashion. As a matter of fact, I think it's important for me to say that my objective today is we can quell the violence. I mean, because all the things that I was doing when I was involved in activities, it was straight ignorance. But it was exciting to me. And that seemed like the death style that I wanted to be a part of. But after suffering the consequences as a result of gang activity, and it's all for what? So now I think it's important to be able to come back, because I was involved in so much of the violent aspect of banging, right? Now I want to come back to the hood to do my part when it comes to restorative justice principles, right? And what does that mean? For me, that means being able to repair the harm between the communities, between the neighborhoods, right? Because while I was on the inside, I mean, like, there was no gang rivalry, right? Like, there were guys on the inside who we were beefing on site, on the street and doing our time in juvenile hall, right? But then in that setting, here it was, there can be times when we would have to have each other's back, you know what I mean, fighting back to back. And so it just basically was a matter of us respecting one another, right? Respecting one another, and with that respect, there just weren't any issues because we knew where we came from. And it was like we had nothing to prove.